Reverend, thank you so much for your time. Take us back to 10 years ago. We were all looking at the chimney, waiting for the smoke. It emerged white. But were you surprised when this man was elected Pope?
I was very surprised. I think many of us observers were really surprised. Someone outside of Europe, someone who didn't have that experience inside the Vatican Curia, in many ways, he was truly an outsider. In fact, he'd been on the outs for some time, even within Argentina and within his own order, the Jesuits.
Yeah, why did he choose the name Francis? It does link with his actions as Pope, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed. So he chose the name Francis in reference to Saint Francis of Assisi, who lived in the Middle Ages in France and was tremendously a man of peace and also an envoy, a messenger of peace to other people. He's also one who saw that human rights are within the context of respect for nature and that God created all of the universe, and therefore we should revere his presence, even in wildlife.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because he does talk about human responsibility in dealing with the climate crisis. He talks a lot, of course, about the dispossessed, the poor, the hungry, victims of war, migrants. He has washed the feet of poor people, of beggars, imitating the actions of Jesus Christ. This is a man who, in a way, appears more humble than the position itself of Pope. What do you think are his great achievements over the past 10 years?
I think the greatest achievement is that he's really transformed the way the church is viewed from outside the church, certainly from the secular world and also from other religions. He's put on a very, let's say, welcoming face to the Catholic Church, which was definitely his priority, which was to represent God's mercy, his forgiveness for all, and therefore this welcoming message of the church. He's de-emphasized doctrine, which could be seen as those things that set us apart from other faiths, and also set us apart from some Christians who don't want to hold on to all of the doctrines of the Catholic Church. He's continued to emphasize those doctrines, but with putting them in a second place to the message of God's mercy, that Jesus, God, wants to forgive us all. And therefore the church has her arms open to all.
You remember those stories, Reverend, when he was elected Pope? The officials at the Vatican said, you should be traveling in this vehicle and not in the bus with your fellow cardinals, and you should have the papal apartments. And he said, no, I'll go with my fellow cardinals in the minibus, and I don't want the apartments. I want a much smaller room. How much does that humility inspire Catholics?
It inspires people from around everyone around the world. They observe this and they see how important it is to care for the poor and to live sobriety of life. And really, above all, that the message of the faith is really about eternal salvation. It's not about finding happiness in things of this world. And moreover, just very recently, really just a few days ago, Pope Francis audaciously changed laws, financial laws inside the Vatican to require that other prelates might pay a market rate for the apartments in which they live. It's true that those who, while respecting the ongoing contracts, any future contracts or future rentals to prelates, bishops, and cardinals, and so forth in the Vatican will be charged the going rate. So he's ready to require also others in the Vatican to step up and live according to his example of simplicity of life.
We most often see him now in a wheelchair. Indeed, he even oversaw the funeral of his predecessor, Pope Benedict, from a wheelchair there in St. Peter's Square. Now that the precedent has been set, are you concerned that possibly Francis himself may retire as he gets older?
Well, he's been considering the possibility even from the moment he was elected. He said that, and because Benedict set the precedent, and I think there used to be this conviction that it just had to be for life because the office went with being father of all of the Christians around the world. But Francis has also said openly that if he becomes incapacitated and that he will consult about this and that he's actually charged others in authority in the church, the Cardinal Secretary of State, to determine if he's been incapacitated and therefore needs to be replaced in his office. It's interesting, though, that given his health, it should be taken into account that he's now back walking, although with a cane. It seems that his knee has improved. And I find this really promising because if one is really confined to a wheelchair, it makes it really difficult for the rest of one's health at that age. But now he's moving again. He's walking again.
Yeah, that is good news. Actually, I didn't know that. Reverend Robert Gahl, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really, really appreciate it.